Well, thank you, Peter, for agreeing to talk with us. So the first thing, just by way of introduction, I'd like to ask you to tell me a little bit about your company and your role in the company.
Okay, so the company is called Bullet, which is an automated accounting product for small business. It's like a freemium SaaS model. And I am the co-founder. Myself and a guy called John Farley co-founded the business about 8 years ago.
8 years ago already. Okay, great. All right, could you talk a little bit about the problem or issue that you were having that you asked Softjourn to help you address?
Well, my journey with Softjourn actually started pre-Bullet with another startup called GroupieFit that we got Softjourn to build for us, and I had a great experience with that. And then with Bullet, John, my co-founder, was actually the CTO, so he did all the development work on Bullet. And then he left the company after about 8 years, and I needed to replace him. And I didn't want to replace it with a single CTO because then there's a kind of single point of failure. And I wanted a good, strong Eastern European development team. And they're a great resource for developers. So I went back to Softjourn. See, could you guys help? And you could.
Okay, that's great. All right, could you talk a little bit about, obviously you've explained already a little bit about what was the reason that you ended up in this situation with your CTO leaving. Was there some other reason that you decided to come back to Softjourn?
Because they did a phenomenal job with GroupieFit, the previous startup.
Okay,
they had done a great job, put together a great team around it, and the delivery was just spot on. And out of all of we've outsourced an awful lot of development. You know, development can be pretty expensive, and in Ireland we have a huge amount of big US companies that just suck up all the developers, so it can be hard to get good developers in Ireland. So you're always kind of outsourced, and yeah, they were just phenomenal. So I knew I could go back to them.
Okay, great. Can you talk a little bit about some of the first work that you asked Softjourn to do for you?
Well, with GroupieFit, it was to build the entire product. So I had kind of designed up a wireframe, and you guys built the whole thing and delivered it on time and on budget. And then with Bullet, there was two issues I wanted resolved. One was I wanted ongoing support for the product because it's a fintech product, so it needs to be pretty reliable and pretty robust and have very little or no downtime on it, and can't produce any crazy numbers. And so I needed some ongoing support with knowledge built around the product because we do some taxation and stuff. And I then needed a development team to be able to, same team to be honest with you, to be able to then carry out new features and build some redundancy in the product. And software is always organic, so it's always changing and growing.
That's very true. So can you talk a little bit about where you think, obviously you'd worked with us before and you came back to us and you had the issue with the CTO leaving and things like that, but could you talk about if you would not have known about us, where would your business be if this problems hadn't been resolved, if you hadn't been able to find somebody to work with?
It probably would have shut down, if I'm very honest with you. You just can't run a SaaS product, a SaaS company without some development work, and even in Bullet, we did a feature freeze to really test to see because the product is a very simple product. So we thought a feature freeze was a great idea to test to see how the product matured. But I mean, APIs updates, Stripe updates, everything updates. One of the first big projects that got you to work on was a payroll update. Our whole government payroll system changed in Ireland, and that was a pretty big project. And our billing structure changed as well. So that was kind of it was the first one we worked on, and then the second project was the payroll update, which was pretty big, and there was big changes and a terrible test environment. So there was lots of ups and downs in it, but yeah, the company would have been totally gone. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sure not with you running it, wouldn't have been totally gone. So can you talk about, you talked about the payroll updates and the billing updates, a lot of things, obviously, like you said, software is a living, breathing thing and continually growing. Obviously, you want to continue to change. Can you talk a little bit about what's been the best thing about working with Softjourn to help you solve these problems of ongoing needs?
Okay, so I can give that answer in a kind of in a macro and a micro version. So on a macro level, an awful lot of outsourced development goes to Southern Asia. And although they're good developers, there's a definite cultural difference there, kind of a subservient cultural difference. And also there's a tendency to say yes to everything and that everything is working fine. And when you're building product, you want to know if there's problems. You don't want to find out about them when you go live. So on a macro level, it was the cultural side of working with Softjourn, and predominantly Ukrainian engineers. A staff member works in the Ukraine as well. So they reminded me an awful lot of the Irish work ethic before millennials arrived on the scene. And there was a good, strong work ethic. And then on a micro level, so the cultural thing was a total fit. You know, they've worked very well in the Irish mindset. And if there's a problem, you're told about it straight away. If you have an idea, you're told if it's a bad idea straight away. So there's very good fit. And that's kind of what you want, you know, particularly as a solo founder now, you have a real danger of getting trapped in your own echo chamber, and which we're learning all too well about in the news feeds. So having a team that gives you pushback is important, you know. Mm-hmm. And then on a micro level, you get a full team. So you get a QA, you get a developer, you get a team lead, or you get a couple of developers. So you're acquiring a whole team, you know, and everything that gets delivered. You're not pushed back bad product, you know, and then being told you go and test it. You literally get everything and it's working perfect. And if there's any issues, like with us, you provide us with support. Mm-hmm. If there's any issues, they're usually resolved straight away, you know, and mm-hmm. It just gives tremendous peace of mind, you know, mm-hmm. tremendous peace of mind. I can't emphasize that enough.
Okay, well, that's great to hear. Yeah. You did mention something interesting where you said that if you have an idea and they don't think it's a good idea, you get pushback immediately. I'm wondering if you could maybe think of a situation where you did get that kind of pushback, or maybe you even got like received a creative idea from the team.
So with the payroll, the Irish government had changed how payroll was run. Okay, it was like done now on a weekly update. So we had to change all our kind of tax returns. And how I kind of like to run teams is, I mean, if you hire a technical team, they're the technical experts. So I always take their lead. You know, I never try and manage people because, you know, if you get good people, they should be able to manage themselves. And with that, we pretty much took your guys' lead on all the technical solutions around that. So within the product, we have a certain workflow we like to put in. It's very user-centric, you know, mm-hmm. and maybe developers aren't very focused on being user-centric, you know, because they're very focused on getting the technical solution done. So you're always trying to bridge that gap, but we took all the advice Softjourn gave us on and in actual fact know the system better than we know the system now, which is a good indicator. And then the same with our on how, like, simple stuff like on how we rolling it out in phases, mm-hmm. All of that, you know. I always take that feedback from I'll always let the developers lead. Once it fits into what we're looking to do, mm-hmm. I'll always take their lead. And mm-hmm. once you trust your development team, which I do, then mm-hmm. you know, they're pretty much running the show.
Okay, well, that sounds great. Very interesting. I'm just wondering, lastly, is there anything else you'd like to share about your experience in working with us?
I'm your greatest sales guy. I'm literally, every time I meet someone and they're having a problem with developers, I'm like, you need to call these people and they'll sort it out. Yeah, I can't speak any better of you. I mean, you just do a great job. Took a tremendous amount of pressure off me. And I think if anybody is out there, either a seasoned product builder like I would be, or starting off for the first time, you definitely are a great team to work with, you know. And if anybody wants to contact me around that, they can certainly contact away, and I'll tell them everything. But it's it's a great team. Yeah, great team, and a great time zone as well for Europe.
For where you are in Ireland. Okay, well, that's great.